What age are we going to be in heaven? My name's Harley and I am a Christian, and we're going to look at this particular question as we look at a series of questions on this channel about heaven. And my hope is that these videos will be helpful for both Christians and non-Christians. You see, Christians typically don't think a lot about heaven, and when we do think about heaven, often our thoughts are pretty vague, and that's not the way that it should be. For non-Christians, I hope that you would learn and understand a little bit more about what Christians do believe and what the Bible teaches about eternity and about heaven. And so as you watch, we're going to be armed with your questions and look today at what age we will be in heaven. What age will we be in heaven? This is a really great question, and a question that stands on the shoulders of a couple of other convictions or beliefs. Those two beliefs are that there is a heaven and that we will have physical bodies in heaven. I'm not going to go into great detail on either of these things, but maybe in another video we'll talk about these realities. But what I will say is that when we look at Jesus and the life of Jesus, when he was resurrected, we see that he had a physical body. If you want to look at John chapter 20 or 21 or Luke chapter 24, we can find scriptures that talk about this. And Jesus' body was, I believe, a template for what our bodies will be like when we too experience the resurrection. And so if you're wondering, okay, what's a body going to be like? A good place to look is to look at Jesus and to understand that his resurrected body in some ways shows us what perhaps our resurrected bodies will look like. So coming back to our question, what will be our age in heaven? And the simple answer, the short answer is, we don't know. But we can do some positive speculating, or maybe another helpful term for this is to think of, we can theorize, we can think about what this may look like. You see, what we do know is that heaven is a place of perfection. There's no pain, there's no sickness, there's no disease there. Go to Revelation 21, and in particular verse 4, and you'll see that that's how heaven is described. In this life that we're living in now, age ultimately leads to deterioration, pain, and death. And so what we know is that what we experience in this life and in these bodies is very different from heaven, because we know that death and pain and deterioration is not a part of the new heavens and the new earth. In the life to come, we won't experience these things. Therefore, if your body is old and worn out when you die, and then you die believing in Jesus, we can have a strong hope that when we receive our new glorified, resurrected bodies, that they will be incomparably beyond what we were like even in the prime of our lives. I don't believe that you will, if you die old, be resurrected in an old body. How good will it be to not get sick anymore? How good will it be not to experience the pain of a headache, or to have aches and pains in your body or in your back or in your muscles? That's all going to be gone. And that's to say nothing of the major health problems that many of us experience in this lifetime. What we believe as Christians is that those things will be all gone, all done with. So what I want you to do is to picture something with me. I want you to picture your body in its prime age, maybe 20s or 30s, and that body free from all imperfections, all ailments. And then I want you to think about every sense that you have being heightened and magnified, as every cell in your body is magnified in its capacity by the release of sin, the release of brokenness from this world. So now what you are in this new physical body is stronger, more sensitive, possessing of greater capacity to understand and to know things in your brain, with a greater capacity to love and to ultimately worship God, who has created you and has now recreated you, and whose presence you're now existing. I think of the scene, or a scene, as an example. Think with me of a time that you've seen a beautiful landscape. Maybe you've gone to a lookout or something like that. And when you've gone to this lookout, you've thought, wow, it's a beautiful day, and you've seen a lot of beauty laid out before you. And I don't know if you've ever had this experience of returning to that same place on another beautiful day, but what you realize is that that other day that you were there, you couldn't see half as well because there was a haze on the horizon. There was just an inability to see far or to really enjoy the view into its full capacity. You thought it was good, but once the haze is gone, you can actually see way further. You can see even more beauty and more incredible detail on the horizon. I think in this illustration in some ways kind of pictures what we expect with heaven and with these new bodies. The best that we've experienced in these bodies in the prime of our life is just the shadow showing the greater reality of what we'll experience in heaven. I want to lead you to an interesting text. 1 John chapter 3 verse 2, and what it says is this: Beloved, and by that it means Christians, we are God's children now, and what we will be has not yet appeared. But we know that when He appears, that's God appears, Jesus comes back again, we shall be like Him because we will see Him as He is. Essentially, what this text is telling us is that what we will be, as in what our lives will be like, what our bodies will look like, what we will feel and sense in heaven, has not yet appeared, as in we just don't know yet. But it then goes on and says, and it puts this big but in the middle of the second sentence, and it says, but when He appears, when He comes again, as He has promised, that we will be like Him. And again, I think we've just got to come back to this thought that Jesus in a lot of ways shows us what our resurrected bodies will look like. We don't know exactly what age we will be, but from what we know of Jesus' body and Jesus' resurrected body and life is that Jesus was free from sin. He was in a resurrected physical and eternal body, and He was recognizable. And so I think we can cling to all of these things as truths for us as we look forward to heaven. I believe that as we have these new bodies, that we will be free from sin, that these bodies will be physical and eternal, and that we will be recognizable to one another, even though our bodies may look drastically different. Having a new, uncorrupted, and unrestrained body is something that Christians should absolutely look forward to. Of course, there's so much more that we could say on this particular topic, but hopefully this is just a teaser to get your brain going, get your heart going and thinking about what heaven might possibly be like. These videos are made from questions from you. And so if you have a question about heaven and you'd like to see a video talking about that question, I'd really like to invite you to send a question into the email address that you'll find in the description below. And if you just mind putting in the subject line question about heaven and reply and send an email in, that would be fantastic. We'd love to hear from you. If you'd like to see more of these videos, please subscribe here to the channel, and I hope to see you soon. Thank you so much.